right, so you've heard from our panel. Now we want to hear from you. And I think we're going to adjust so we can take questions and answers. I saw a lot of our community college colleagues in the audience. I know if I were in the audience, I'd have some definite questions that I would want to ask that I haven't asked.
So if you have any questions, just give me your business card and state your name and what organization you're with.
Thank you. I'm Ambassador Dr. Zyra McLeod, and I'm with several organizations. One of them is the Parent and Community Action Team. The other one is the International Black Chamber of Commerce and the California Black Chamber of Commerce, and the Inglewood and Ladera Homeowners and Residents Association. And my question here today is to any one of the panels. First of all, I would like to congratulate BizFeds for doing such an excellent job in bringing this into the community. It's so well needed. I commend your president, your chairperson, and this whole organization. You've done an incredible job. And I'm hoping and praying that hopefully you can also take this program to the great city of Inglewood. In the city of Inglewood, the state has taken over our school district. And I'm here today as such a breath of fresh air to hear from the business community and the superintendents from other areas. I myself had a school for entrepreneurs and business from kindergarten to 12th grade Christian school. And in the city of Inglewood, we brought together, like what you're doing here today, the city, the schools, and the chamber. And we came up with a strategy, and I'm hoping that BizFed can do that with us again. This was back in 1990, and we were very successful. And unfortunately, when I had to leave the countries to try to support the country of Haiti and Africa, when I came back, we were taken over. So my question to you today, is there any way that you can take this particular positive program that you're doing so well today and take it to the city of Inglewood and other areas so that we can be a part of what you're doing? And you can uplift us, because at this point in time, the homeowners and the state and the situation that we're in is kind of on the downside. So can you bring the business, the education, and the community together with us in the great city of Inglewood so you can uplift us and we can come back again as partners? Thank you so very much, and God bless you.
So let me make sure, so we can also, because we want to connect it to the community college aspect. So who wants to take that question, connecting Inglewood with a community college to remain and other partners?
So you've heard about the programs that I'm involved in here at Trade Tech. We've negotiated an agreement with the Hollywood Park Consortium for the new football stadium. It's over $2 billion worth of work, has an extensive local hire program that's defined by zip codes around the area, and it's just getting started. So it's going to put many folks from your community to work in the building trades. And just so happens, Monday I have an appointment with your superintendent of schools at Inglewood to sit down and talk about some further partnerships.
Okay, Richard?
Yes, and if I can briefly add. So I appreciate that. It's important for the community to say, we want you to come, because we don't often hear from the community at our board meetings. But I just want to point out that we're in a very critical time, both the community colleges and the workforce development boards, of having to submit regional plans. And part of that regional planning process means going out to various communities to engage community leaders and stakeholders from all of the sectors. And our lead consultant is in the room for the 7 WIBs, David Schinder over here. You can raise your hand, David, who will be leading the effort on behalf of the 7 workforce development boards in the county with the community engagement and the outreach. So we need to, but we also want to hear from the community, engage the communities as partners in our strategies and partners in our solutions.
Hello again, everybody. My name is Alexa Victoriano, LACCD student trustee. Just to touch a few bases, I know some of you touched bases on curriculum change and the interconnection of skills and also being well educated to be successful in the workforce. So just my question, so I know a lot of you touched the bases of pathways and programs. So how can pathway programs, career pathways and programs work together or which one will be more benefit to the students when going into the workforce area, if that makes any sense?
So let me ask to Solomon to take a first stab at it.
So thank you for the question. And the career pathway model that has been rolling out, really it's been taking off in the last couple of years, it's a very inclusive model where there's multiple entries and multiple exits. If designed well with the partnership of industry leaders here, you would have clear information about if you were to stop out at a high school, what would that mean? If you come from a non-credit world and get a non-credit certificate, what does that mean? If you get an industry credential, what does that mean? And the different occupations that merit those types of milestones, inclusive of certificates and degrees from the community colleges, as well as baccalaureate and all the way up to a PhD. But the career pathway should inform every student going into every industry what are the entries and exits that are available to you based on your life conditions, your various needs at your certain stages of life. It's a detriment to anyone if they can't see themselves coming back to work after a certain age or being displaced, if they can't plug it back into a career pathway model. It's supposed to be all inclusive and really inform the individual throughout their livelihood.
Anyone else?
Well,
Elsa?
on the career, we worked for 3 years on career pathway standards for the fashion industry and with Sacramento on culinary arts as well as technology. 3 different curriculums, defined career pathway standards. And what is clear is that after a year or so at a college, whether it's a community college or a 4-year college, a young person has kind of an idea of what they want and what they don't want. And if there is a career in business, any business, financial literacy has to be one of the things they understand. If they don't understand the banking process, how to have a checkbook, how to write a check, they're not going to be successful in business, in any business. And it's not taught sincerely as a curriculum item. It needs to be discussed. The other thing is the resume. In our industry, we don't care whether you have been graduated from LA Trade Tech, FITM, or Cal State Northridge. Nobody asks the length of your degree if you're a designer, a seller, a merchant, a technology whiz, whatever it is. That you have some kind of literary education is very important. But does your resume read that you flipped hamburgers at In-N-Out Burger? Or did you work at The Gap? Did you make change? All of the things that you do in your private time reflect on your business acumen. And those that don't understand that are behind the pale. Their resume does not get read when the resumes come out, even for beginning jobs.
All right, next question.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Anguiano. I'm from MEND. It's a poverty relief organization in Pacoima, the Northeast San Fernando Valley. We are an organization that has a job training program, and the majority of our job trainees are referred to us by WIB. They are clients of GAIN. They come to our institution through the Welfare to Work program. They're transitional subsidized employees. And we assess them, and we find that the majority of them, single mothers, the breadwinner of their family, don't have a high school education. So we try to prepare them, enhance their work ethic, and give them that work experience that they don't have before coming to us. But those job opportunities require a high school diploma, and for them to work for that high school diploma after the 8-hour shift or whatever it may be, or do it on the weekend, it's hard for them because they want to spend time with their family. So is there a platform, a dialogue, a group that men could be a part of, or other organizations that do similar work to us could be a part of, to see how we could fix that problem, work with other institutions like our community college, just so that we could help more of our clients get that GED. Kelly Services was at our job fair Wednesday, and they provide a lot of job opportunities that don't require it, but many others do. Thank you.
So, how is it about the competency or is it about the degree? And then how do you determine it? Because we have a community member who just asked a community-based organization, nonprofit, who asked, listen, a lot of people don't have the high school diploma. Like, how can we connect? But I'm also interested in getting a sense of, Kelly and others, if you require that rigid degree, the person may have captured the competencies. So how do you kind of get at both questions?
So from a business standpoint, I think it's a couple of things. I think that we have got a lot of different organizations that simply require a high school diploma because someone up the food chain determined that to work in any position at a grade of XYZ, you've got to have a diploma. And it really has no relevancy to what it is they're doing for the job. So I think that in many cases, that's just a barrier you're not going to be able to break by displaying competency, no matter how great your resume looks. Until you identify some of these organizations, and that's just a one-by-one thing to try to get them to change their mind. Usually that is set at some point or another in an organization because it says that they had the ability to complete something. Of course, the basic competencies as well. Can they, graduate high school and have basic math and English skills? But, what does that say about their work ethic as well? I think that being able to push those students to get their GED is going to be the quickest way, for them to mend that, because if you've got a GED, that's acceptable as well, right? So, and I think that is going to have to be a determination that somebody has to make for their life, because without that, you're going to be limited unless you specifically know what it is you want to do and how to get there, versus letting that career pick you by means of, I'm going to work anywhere that will take me. Right? It's got to be both ways. They've got to know what they're going for, what's required, and they've got to determine if they need that GED or if they can test into a college and go that way.
All right, so I'm not sure, Richard or Solomon, Richard was very eager to answer that one.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to answer the question you want me to answer, but what I heard as well is how does an organization that may or may not have the resources, the specific resources to meet some of the needs, access them? And so in the new paradigm of workforce development, the expectation is that we cooperate, that we collaborate, and that we align. And that may sound simple, but it really is about there being no wrong door, and that leveraging resources of the respective systems and having a collective workforce development system so that the individuals that we serve, whether they're students or customers or clients or families, however we identify them, that you know where the best resources are and you have access to them. So it's easier said than done. The expectation is that we collaborate and that there be some sharing of resources and some coordination of efforts between all of the partners and stakeholders. That hasn't always been the way. And so, for example, with youth internship monies, paid internships, education, as we heard from the last panel, talked about the lack of resources. I would argue that in the workforce system, we don't have a lack of resources. Oftentimes, we don't spend all of the money. Oftentimes, we don't spend all of the youth internship, paid internship money. And so it's a question of how do we collaborate to ensure that we have shared goals and that we support each other with shared outcomes. Not completely, but that may be overly idealistic, but for me, that's the low bar. That's not the ambitious high bar that business expects. But we should be partnering to leverage our resources to achieve the best outcomes for individuals and families. And I don't think that we do a good enough job.
And there'll be opportunities to partner in a minute, but I know we have one more question.
Hi, I'm Harold Dickens, Foundation Board Member, Los Angeles Southwest College. I also am on the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and I represent the Watts Chamber of Commerce. One thing that I found, I get to a lot of these programs, is that For instance, we have a nursing program at Southwest. I spoke to a nursing organization. They said that they primarily take the students from the four-year colleges, not the community colleges. We're like on the lower end of the totem pole. Why is that if we're not giving the same information? The other thing is who's tracking those getting the jobs and keeping the jobs? We know that, you know, ITT just went down because they were actually, well, maybe it wasn't ITT, but one of those companies were hiring people to hire people, keep them for a while, then they're gone, just to keep stats. I don't know who's tracking the numbers, but we want to do something with you guys. Also, do you work with the foundations, or do you only work with the college directly? Because we're the foundation board, we support the college, and we bring things to the college to help support the students. If we can get answers to a couple of those at least, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Who's that directed to?
Anybody want to take a stab at that one?
Well, statistically, yes, we keep the numbers on our industry. Statistically, there's a greater percentage of students hired from LA Trade Tech than there are from FITM, Fashion Institute, which is 4-year. And certainly many more than from any of the 4-year colleges because of their dedicated program. Because we know that after 2 years, they know how to make a pattern, they know how many yards are in a garment. All of those things give them a leg up into an industry. And that's why these career pathway standards for whatever the industry is are so, so vital at the community colleges. Some of the community colleges, and I won't name, are trying to be 4-year colleges in 2 years. Pick your topic, pick your competency, and give that competency to your students. We are making tremendous changes on one West Side Community College, changing the curriculum for our industry so that they are hireable. A 2-year college degree is not going to make you the next Ralph Lauren designer. It isn't. But it's going to give you a leg up to get into the industry.
All right. Richard and then Solomon.
I just want to respond to the question about data and who's tracking this. I think both from the education system and the workforce system, we'd say we probably spend more and invest more in data collection and in tracking performance than just about any system. But whether we share it or not, and how accessible it is and how understandable it is to the public is a different issue. But without a doubt, our performance continues to be, expectations or mandates continue to be raised. And in our system, it used to be enough to just place someone in employment. But today, when 30% of our adult and dislocated monies, which is about two-thirds of our allocation, is set aside for training specifically, and we only get performance if we now employ someone in a job related to the training, and that we have to follow up for 9 months, and they still have to be employed 9 months later in order to get that performance outcome. Those are huge demands on the system. They're also huge costs to do that kind of follow-up, but the data is definitely available. I think the question about whether or not 2-year versus 4-year in terms of outcome, really the amount of engagement between higher education, the WIBs, business, and labor continues to grow in order to get that right. And again, having our finger on the pulse of economic development data or labor market information is critical. And we invest or spend probably $1 million on labor market information in order to try to get that right. Is it the right investment? Is business tracking it to say, why are you training so many in this area, or why do you have so many courses in this area versus another area? That's probably not happening. And so the questions about whether or not we're successful or whether or not another system is successful largely has to do with whether or not you're really examining our results and engaged in ensuring that the strategic investments that we're expected to make are the ones we're actually making.
So I'm going to let our last response come from a community college, but I want to make sure you hit on this component in particular. There's a supply and demand aspect, and there's an aspect that Ron brought up in terms of making sure you're deploying where Inglewood, where the community needs are. It's not just place-based. And there's the aspect of being nimble. So how do you respond to all those aspects?
No, I'm
In a
glad
minute.
Richard brought up that point. He's correct. We have to look at the labor market. Maybe, and I don't know this particular occupation, but maybe there's a gluttony and overpopulation of a certain 4-year or 2-year, depending on the industry. And so you're looking at the effects of someone not looking at the labor market information, right? That's a possibility. But like was mentioned, if you don't connect with your local employers and articulate what's the benefit of hiring some of your community college students and make it evident of what the skill sets are and what the benefits are and where do they fit in their organization, it may not happen. And I'm going to give an example. A lot of you may know Snapchat. That's a big high-tech firm on the west side. You would figure out that they would not hire community college students. But with our partnership with LA Chamber through our LA High Tech Consortia, as of actually next Monday, they're interviewing 14 community college students specifically for their community college internship route. And that happened through partnerships with the business intermediary, with articulating the benefit of hiring diverse populations. That includes 2 years, that includes underrepresented youth, that includes different life experiences into a high-tech firm like Snapchat and how they may benefit from it. So it is a lot about data and engagement.
All right, so I think with that, we're getting ready to wrap up. Let's give a round of applause to our amazing panel. I want to make sure we recognize you. We're going to take a photo op, and then I know we're going to get ready for the next panel.